What's up, YouTube family? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight. Out in my garage, a little too hot to fish. The sun's actually out in a tournament tonight. 100 degrees outside, and he wants to go fish tournaments. He's crazy. Anyways, I'm in the shop. Want to talk to you a little bit about some August fishing. Yes, it is definitely hot. Yes, fishing is definitely getting tough, but there's some lures and some patterns that you can use that hopefully can get you on some fish. I want to explain them to you. Let's go. All right, before we start this video, hopefully you guys saw it out on our channel, but we just got a new sponsorship from Habit Outdoors. Go check out their website at www.habitoutdoors.com. They've got all kinds of awesome fishing apparel, hunting apparel, and they just teamed up with Major League Fishing. They've got some cool hoodies out there. I just ordered mine, so you guys will probably see me wearing them here pretty soon. And they got a couple good hats. This hat right here is like 10 bucks. Super cool hat. They got another one out there that's camo. More for hunters, but you've seen me wear it before, but it's got some black mesh in the back and it's really stretchy. It's probably one of the most comfortable hats I have. So anyways, go out, check it out, www.habitoutdoors.com, and when you go there to check out, use code SimplisticFishing20 at checkout. You'll get a 20% discount. How about that? All right, so let's get going, guys. That's super cool. Love to have the partnership. That's our first one, and we're super excited about it. Now, the guy at Amp Marine has been hooking us up. He hasn't paid us any money or anything like that, but he did send us a couple free products. So cheers to you, Tracy, out there at Amp Marine for hooking us up and actually being our first true sponsor. And cheers to Habit for supporting us and believing in us. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about August baits. I actually had to write myself a little note here because afraid I might forget to talk to you guys about some stuff. So let's start off. Let's just talk about where to fish. So really right now, with it being so stinking hot, here in the DFW area, we're at like 50 some odd days of 100 degrees or something like that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not that many, but it's a crap load. And I think it's that many since we've seen rain. So it's just absolutely brutal. We got water temps up in the 90 degrees. And really, honestly, I don't think there's a shallow bite. If there is, I just don't know where it's at. I haven't really focused on it much because when it gets this hot in Texas, I just pretty much shut the shallow bite off unless I'm up there fishing riprap where it has a really deep drop off. But other than that, I'm just gonna pretty much go deep and focus deep. So the things that I'm focusing on, one would be humps, two would be points. Obviously points would be huge, all kinds of different points to go look at. And then rocks, obviously rock piles, brush piles, and last but not least, creek channels. So creek channel swings and creek channel bends. So let's take a look at some of these pictures here. I've got a couple out here for you. The first one is gonna be a hump out on Joe Pool. So this looks like it could have been like an old pond dam or something like that. Not sure what it is, but this would be a really good spot to look for fish in the summertime out there on Joe Pool Lake. This next image is actually from Lake Weatherford, and this is just a really good point. This point just looks really good out there on Weatherford. I would definitely be an area that I would look at. Has some pretty good drop-offs. Looks like I might have some vegetation around it. All of it looks really, really good. And then this next one you're going to see, this is actually from Eagle Creek Lake, or Eagle Mountain Lake. I'm sorry, not Eagle Creek, but Eagle Mountain Lake. And this is a creek channel that you can see where it swings up right by these docks, has a really nice sharp drop off. There's actually a couple different areas just right in here that would be really good places to fish in the summer. They have the creek channel going there. You've got a pretty good hard spot there. It's swinging up pretty hard against the bank line there, and those are just prime spots to look for fish in the summertime, especially if you can find brush or rock. Obviously with that creek channel swing, it's probably going to have a hard spot on that major swing where it hits up against the bank line. That's where you're going to get your hard spots. So anyways, those are the spots that you should probably be focused on in August. Now let's talk about what baits you should be using, because obviously that can be all over the place. I said shallows off. If you want to go shallow, I just don't have that ability to do it here with the lakes that I've been fishing with just Hubbard and Levon. But if you want to go shallow and you have hydrilla or pads, definitely frogs and swim baits all day long. Just stay shallow, have a good time. But we don't have that here. So in our lakes, pretty much we gotta go deep. So let's talk about what we would use. First off, you guys have heard me talk about the big old worm. I talked about it on the last month's video where I was throwing this giant worm on this giant shaky head. Now that's still going to be a good choice for sure, but I've actually started to switch over, and this is the ridge worm. I think this is the 9-inch ridge worm, something like that, from 6 cents. Basically a 10-inch worm. So I'm just taking a 10-inch worm and I'm Texas rigging it. So as opposed to putting it on the shaky head, I'm actually going to Texas rig it and just drag it around that way. Why they're biting the Texas rig more than the shaky head right now, I don't know. I can't explain it, but anyways, check out the Texas rig. It pretty much any 10-inch worm. You've got the Zoom not Magnum worm, the old mag, or I forget what it's called. You guys will probably, the Zoom Old Monster, that's what it is. The Zoom Old Monster worm's really good. Power Bait's got some really cool 10-inch worms of those Berkeley. So all kinds of good 10-inch worms, but get a 10-inch worm. Don't be scared. Don't be scared of the big worm. Big worm catches good fish. It also catches little fish, but it'll catch big fish too. So make sure you get you a 10-inch worm, put it on a hook, Texas rig. I don't like to put a lot of weight on there. 1/4 ounce is probably about as heavy as I'm gonna go on my worm. On these lighter worms, like this one, the 6 cents one, I might have to go with the 1/2 ounce just because it doesn't have as much plastic. But one of these bigger worms, like one of these worms, if I were to throw this, with the Texas rig, I definitely would not put very much weight on there. I might even go down to an 1/8 ounce with that bigger worm. So just remember that. You don't want to get it too heavy. You still want to give it some action in the water when it's down there. All right, next would be, you're going to be surprised. It's another worm. This is just a shaky head worm. Again, you can use whatever worm that you want. This is on a 5/0 hook, so I've got a little bigger worm here. This is probably a 7-inch worm or so. But just use a little bit bigger worm, not a giant one, and that should help you generate a few more strikes, throwing a little bit profile. But this really isn't that small compared to some of that stuff that we throw, come fall and come winter time. So the shaky head definitely is still in the game, but the Texas rig big worm seems to outperform right now once we get a little bit hotter. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense. All right, now we're gonna get into some of the more fun stuff to throw. The next would be, definitely because you're offshore, is going to just be the standard old spoon. So when they start chasing all those shad and you find a school of them, you can throw this spoon down there, pop it a couple times, let it go down, pop it a couple times, let it go down, or reel it up really fast and let it drop. Either way, that is a deadly, deadly, deadly lure. So go get you some really good spoons. This is one, I don't even know where I got this from. This may be a Smash Tech spoon, I don't even know. But anyways, cool looking spoon here. This thing's caught me plenty of fish. Very, very good come late summer, and it's late summer now, or getting close to late summer, so we're gonna be wanting to throw the old spoons out there. Next, really, I should have started with this, because if I'm out there fishing offshore, I'm gonna spend 10 to 15 minutes on each spot. Unless I get a bite, then I'm gonna stay there a little bit longer, or obviously a lot longer. But if I don't get a bite, pretty much my pattern or my routine is gonna be the same as pretty much everybody else that you hear out there. I'm gonna roll up, I'm gonna hit them with the 6XD or a Cloud 9, something like that, something that goes about 10 to 15 feet, somewhere in there, depending on where that rock pile is. But throw the 6XD out there, reel it down really fast, pause it, reel it, pause it, reel it, pause it. Do that, 10, 15 times. If I don't get a bite, throw that down, immediately switch over to probably the shaky head, throw that a few times. If I don't get anything there, throw it over to the Texas rig, try that a few times. And if I don't get anything there, pretty much I'm gonna throw the football head jig and I'm gonna get the heck out of there. Now, if I do go there though, and they are, of course we didn't even talk about the football head jig. That was my next magic lure right there. This lure right here, I'll show you a picture, 9.992, almost a 10 pounder. I wish it was a 10 pounder, but this exact lure, this exact one, I cut it off as soon as I caught that fish. That's the biggest fish I've ever caught. This exact lure is what caught it for me. So football head jig, this is a 3/4 ounce football head jig. I just got a little beaver style bait on it, trimmed up the skirt a little bit, nothing crazy. But football head jigs are deadly in the summertime. So make sure you're throwing that out there as well. Now, I talked about the spoon earlier. I wouldn't just go out there and just try to find the fish with the spoon. It would definitely be something where if I pulled up and I realized there were a whole bunch of them, like maybe I looked on LiveScope or maybe on DownScan, I saw that there were just a big school of them. In that case, I'm gonna throw the spoon. But in most cases, this is probably like my least favorite thing to throw. But I'm telling you, it catches fish, and it could be your favorite thing to throw. It's all about what you guys feel comfortable with. Obviously, I feel more comfortable dragging the stuff on the bottom than I do jerking stuff around. Some people feel a lot better moving around, and I'm telling you, I've seen people just absolutely slay them on these spoons. So make sure to throw the spoon. Plus, it doesn't seem like as many people throw the spoon. Everybody else is doing the same thing I'm doing. They're throwing the jig, they're throwing the Texas rig worm, and they're throwing the shaky head, and they're showing up the first thing, and they're throwing the crankbait, getting a couple bites, and they're having to switch to the slow stuff. It's the same old song and dance for all of us. That's what we all do because that's what works. So if you throw this in the middle though, that could change up your day. All right, so a couple other things that I want to talk to you about before we end this video. As we get into the late summertime, there's this thing called a thermocline. And the thermocline will set up, especially as this water gets a lot hotter. And some of the smaller lakes, it may have already even set up. So be aware of that. When you go out there to fish, the first thing you need to do is turn your sensitivity up on your graphs. And when you do, if you see a solid line that doesn't look normal, maybe you're in 20 foot of water and the last 5 feet, there's like a solid line that just looks like, I don't know, it just looks like muck, like dirty. It almost looks like the bottom, but it's not the bottom. That is your thermocline. You can actually see it very clearly on your graphs. If you see the thermocline, which I haven't seen one in Hubbard yet, but you know, it definitely could happen. But I know last year when I was out on Lake Quitman, their thermocline came all the way up to like 15 foot. So if you see the thermocline, the fish will not go underneath the thermocline. They'll hang around. The deepest part will be right at the top of that thermocline. So what you want to do is, let's say the thermocline is setting at 15 feet. So anything below 15 feet is out. So that makes it a lot easier. So if your hump was out in 20 foot and your thermocline is set up now at 15 foot, that hump's out, move a little bit closer in. So it draws the fish a little bit further in and can actually help you as long as you're aware of it. If you're not aware of it, you're fishing in or under the thermocline and you're pretty much in the dead zone. You're not going to catch anything. You're going to get skunked a lot when you're throwing these big things like this. Pointless, because you're fishing below the thermocline. So pay attention to that and make sure that your depth is not deeper than the actual thermocline that's out there. A couple other things I wanted to talk to you about was on the ledge stuff. So when you're out there and you're offshore fishing, there's a really key thing about the ledge fishing. And when ledge fishing in Texas is a little bit different. Obviously we have some lakes that have some pretty good ledges, but you guys know what I'm talking about as far as a ledge, like a creek channel. So that, you know, it comes up and then it just drops. Maybe the ledge is only a foot, maybe the ledge is 2 feet. It just depends on where you're at. You know, in the bigger lakes, like where I'm from, Table Rock, that ledge can be a 40, 50 foot ledge. But here, you know, the ledge is more like a few feet. So anyways, on the ledges, if they are out in the creek channel, out here, and they're just suspending, don't even waste your time, but mark that spot. Because when you come back later, if they're not there, they're probably up here on the ledge, and that's when you can catch them. And that's really key because you don't want to waste your time trying to catch these guys out here. Now, can you catch them? Yes, but it's very difficult to catch them. I mean, basically the only thing that you'd be able to catch them out of the things that I showed you earlier, catching them out here over the top of the creek channel, would probably be that spoon, unless you just got lucky and that worm fell right in front of them. But if they move up to that ledge, they're actively feeding, you can hit that ledge, you can drag the worm on that ledge, you can bang your 660 across the top of the ledge, all that good stuff, and that's where it can be productive. So go out there and do your scanning and stuff, and when you see fish out there, just pay attention to how they're positioned. If they're not positioned up on the ledge, or if it's a slope like this and they're out here, you know, more out in the open, they're not up on the slope going up, don't waste your time, but mark it, because that just means they're not actively feeding. And once they get into that feeding mode, you might come back and hit it at the right time, and that could be the best spot you hit all day. So just wanted to make sure that I let you guys know that. And last but not least, when you do find them, after you catch a couple with that crankbait, if you're lucky, you get them with the crankbait. The other thing is, just like I said last month, you just gotta slow down a little bit. Just slow down a little bit, take your time. I think you guys will find them. Offshore fishing, especially in the summertime, is like one of the hardest times to fish, but it can also be a really good time to fish if you can find them. The key is finding them. So keep moving around, 10 to 15 minutes on each brush pile or rock pile that you find, and then you move on. And then you just keep moving. And you know, the best thing to do is go out there and get like 10 or 15 of them. Mark them all on the lake, figure out where you're gonna go, get a good idea, and literally just run them. So you're running 1 through 15 and then back to 1 through 15, and you're just gonna keep doing that all day until you finally get on a brush pile or a rock pile or a ledge that produces for you. Guys, I hope that helps. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving to Simplistic Fishing. Thank you so much. Make sure to go to check out our website, simplisticfishing.com, to get all the waypoints and all the good stuff for our lakes. And then don't forget to go out and check out Habit Outdoors, www.habitoutdoors.com, to pick you up some fishing apparel. And make sure to use code simplisticfishing20. Till next time, hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.